Today it's fruit and seed sourdough bread, which is absolutely perfect for the LoafNest. Wait until the end if you'd like to see some of my top tips and recommendations to make this recipe your own.
Everything you need in the description below as well as the video. The tools you'll need are oven gloves, digital scales, a LoafNest and liner, or a Dutch oven with a liner, a mixing bowl with a sealable lid or cling film, a bread dough whisk, also called a Dutch whisk, you can just use a fork, a flexible dough scraper or spatula or spoon, a cooling rack, or even just the metal bars of your oven hob will work too. Your ingredients are 200 grams of an active fed starter. I like to use 50-50 water to white bread flour, 300 grams of lukewarm water, 10 grams of salt, optional 30 to 50 grams of maple syrup or sugar, 400 grams of strong bread flour. I use about 50 grams of brown and the rest of white, so 350 grams of white, and 150 grams or about a cup of dried fruit and seed mix. Grab your scales, add your bowl, and then zero or tear the scales, and make sure that you tear or zero the scales after each ingredient. I find it useful to add them in the following order as it makes it easier to mix. First we have 200 grams of fed starter, 300 grams of lukewarm water, 10 grams of salt, the optional 30 to 50 grams of maple syrup or sugar, 50 grams of whole strong bread flour, 350 grams of strong white bread flour, 150 grams of dried fruit and seed mix bag. Grab your dough whisk or fork and mix it really well, making sure that everything's incorporated with no lumps. This mixing should only take about 30 seconds to a minute maximum. It should look something like this when finished. Pop your lid on or cling film and then leave it to proof at room temperature until it doubles, which is usually about 8 to 12 hours. Then store it in the fridge until you're ready to bake. I usually leave it in the fridge for at least 1 day, maximum of about 5. On baking day, pop your LoafNest in the oven and preheat for 45 minutes at 230 degrees Celsius without the liner. Grab the tools you'll need, so that's the cooling rack, your LoafNest liner, the flexible dough scraper or a spatula or spoon, and your oven gloves. Pop your gloves on and get your LoafNest out of the oven. Pop your liner in the base of the LoafNest and remove your dough from the fridge. Use that flexible scraper just to loosen the edges and scrape the mixture straight into the liner. Pop the lid onto the LoafNest and then just spend a couple of seconds straightening the liner and making sure that the lid is aligned with the base. Pop it back into the oven and bake it for 45 minutes. After the 45 minutes is up, just get your oven gloves back on and remove the LoafNest from the oven. Remove the lid and the liner. You may be happy with it, but if you prefer a little more colour, you can bake it for a further 3 to 5 minutes. Then remove it from the oven, then leave it to cool for at least 20 to 30 minutes. It looks amazing every time. I love this recipe. I make this at least once a week. It cuts beautifully, and you can see here that the crumb has small and larger pockets of air, which I find to be just perfect. Here are some top tips for you. Make the fermentation fit your lifestyle. I tend to mix in the morning and then leave it to proof during the day and pop it in the fridge overnight, or mix it in the evening and then leave it to proof overnight and then pop it in the fridge in the morning. Don't skip that fridge fermentation step, it does add flavour and texture. Tweak the sweetness according to your tastes, reducing or increasing maple syrup or the fruit. This bread pairs beautifully with sweet or savoury toppings. Feel free to swap out seeds for nuts and try different types of fruits. A few are in the description. There's a link in the description also if you'd like to purchase the LoafNest through my affiliate link.
There you have it, fruit and seed bread, which is absolutely great for the LoafNest. If you'd like to see more recipes for the LoafNest, please leave a comment below. Otherwise, I hope to see you in the next video.